My name is Mackenzie Barber, and I'll be talking about the Enneagram of Personality. This is another way to better understand people's personalities. Created by Oscar Ichazo, this format for personality typing works off the idea that in one's childhood, there are 9 fixations the ego can make. This becomes the person's self-image that their personality develops around as they grow. The Enneagram is used as a map to understand the connections and the developments between the types. The name is taken from the Greek words "enna," meaning 9, and "gramma," meaning something written or drawn. There are 9 personality types in the Enneagram. Each has a name to help identify and associate the type with the behaviors often displayed. Each type is connected to 2 other types to help reveal how a person of one type might react under different conditions. The one is called the reformer because they have a set of morals that they hold to be true. Anything that doesn't fit into those morals are wrong and is often rejected by ones. They want to perfect whatever projects they are working on to make them fit into their ideals. Being wrong is a stressor and can lead to anger and a feeling of being condemned by others. Ones have a lot of anger, but often describe it as a boiling pot they have to keep a lid on. Anger at being wrong, or when something doesn't fit into the one's ideals, can become overwhelming and lead to criticism and impatience. Ones make great advocates, as they do not waver in their beliefs. Both Gandhi and Osama bin Laden were ones. Both were believers and worked to change their environment to match their personal set of morals. Gandhi's quote, "Be the change that you want to see in the world," is very strongly a one statement. The helper is the title assigned to type 2 in the Enneagram. 2s want people to need and appreciate them. The desire to express their feelings and be useful, sometimes at the cost of their own needs. 2s can become possessive and do things for others, not selflessly as they see themselves, but with the idea that they will get something back, whether that it is attention, affection, or something more material. They are concerned with their image of someone who is well regarded to the point that they often have trouble interpreting their own emotions. Danny Thomas, a singer-actor who founded St. Jude's Research Hospital, was a 2, and was quoted as saying, "Success has nothing to do with what you gain in life or accomplish for yourself. It is what you do for others." Alma, the hugging saint, is another example of a 2, who has hugged over 32 million people and has declared to have dedicated herself to spreading love and compassion. Type 3s are called the achiever. A person who is a type 3 is goal-orientated and wants to be seen as a person who has it all together. Depending on what they define as successful, a 3 will focus on being the best, pushing themselves sometimes too far. They strive for perfection especially in the eyes of others. 3s are very concerned with their image. They can be vain and deceitful in their struggle to retain the appearance of having it all. Muhammad Ali shows the thought process of a 3 very well in his quote, "I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion." O.J. Simpson is another example of a 3 who worked hard to be the #1 player for 11 seasons in football, then used his image to become an actor. The individualist is one of the more creative types. 4s often feel as if they are different from everyone else and that normal rules don't apply to them. In their attempts to discover themselves, they become very self-aware of their traits and flaws. 4s can be socially awkward as they want to be with other people, but they want someone who will see the hidden self inside the 4 and value them. Both Edgar Allan Poe and Prince were 4s. Prince's quote of, "I am not a woman, I am not a man, I am something you will never understand," shows the way many 4s feel. They are so different from the people around them that they can never be understood by normal people. 4s often reinvent themselves again and again to find and keep that sense of identity. 5s are often the brainy types. They are able to take in the world around them and use that gained knowledge as a defense from anything they feel threatened by. 5s sometimes feel as if they are lacking in ability compared to others, and that knowledge is their shield. Often lost in thought, 5s want to gain knowledge on what is new, not what someone else has done before. This desire to know what others do not makes them feel as if they're as capable to function in the real world as anyone else. quiet people have the loudest minds, said Stephen Hawking, who is a 5 and summed up the type 5 of the Enneagram very well. Emily Dickinson is another example of a 5 who wrote over 1,800 poems, often on death and immortality, and withdrew from the public, as 5s are apt to do. They are called the loyalists because 6s will fight for their relationships with people or ideals more fiercely than they are willing to fight for themselves. 6s are so loyal because they fear losing the support of others, fighting longer than most to maintain the connections that other types may let languish. 6s, unlike some other types, are aware of their anxiety and try to build relationships to help them keep the support they feel they need. They are very good at seeing and forestalling problems. However, they tend to oscillate in decisions because they may need to bounce their decision off someone. They can be brave and responsible, facing danger head on. Malcolm X was a 6, and his quote, "If you're not ready to die for it, put the word freedom out of your vocabulary." This shows his loyalty to his personal ideal. Mark Twain was also a 6 and spoke about courage not being immune to fear, but being able to resist. A very good way to describe 6s. Fun-loving 7 is usually the life of the party. They are the person who wants to do everything and try new things. They are often moving but can become exhausted by their attempts to not miss out on anything. 7s can be impulsive and they can move from one idea to the next, making them excellent at brainstorming. 7s often have excellent coordinations and are able to pick things up quickly. Sometimes this can work against them as they may have difficulties deciding on a direction in life or even what to do on a vacation. Amelia Earhart and Joan Rivers were both fun-loving, ready-to-try-anything 7s. 8s challenge not only themselves, but others around them. They want to be in control of their environment while protecting the people they care about. They often don't give in to social convention or let others' opinions change the way they conduct themselves. 8s can seem intimidating because of the way they take charge and push themselves. 8s don't want to be hurt and have trouble admitting when they are emotionally wounded. This may cause them to keep others emotionally distant. They are natural leaders when emotionally healthy. Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King are both excellent examples of 8s. 9 are often referred to as the everyman. They tend to take on the characters of whoever they are with subconsciously. They are social creatures by nature, and they are called the peacemakers because they tend to go with the flow to keep the peace. 9s resist change, and their biggest fear is losing the people they care about. Several of our presidents were 9s. The 9 types and periods of stress or security can have their characteristics of behavior influenced by the 2 other types they are connected to in the Enneagram. The 9 is connected to the 6 and the 3, and the 1 is connected to the 7 and 4, and so on. This is the reason the Enneagram is used in this form of personality typing. This is why one person can react a multitude of ways to any given situation. Depending on stress or security, the type can take on characteristics of the other types in a very specific pattern. An example of how behaviors change, let's look at the 2. When under stress, the 2 will take on the negative characteristics of the 8, such as in their attempts to help, they become controlling and domineering. However, when they are in places they feel secure, often in their own space or with people they are comfortable with, 2s take on the traits of the type 4, such as being more in tune with their emotions and creativity. As another example, the 7 in periods of stress can become more one-like, becoming less spontaneous and more rigid, forcing themselves into more structure than they normally prefer or even need. When they feel secure, they can become less indecisive and become more thoughtful and truth-seeking. Each type has their own pattern for behavior when they are under stress or insecurity. Each type is prone to certain disorders. Any types can suffer from any mental disorders, but these are the most commonly seen amongst their types. OCD is characterized by repetitive and ritualistic behaviors. The one's inability to accept being wrong makes it harder for them to break the rituals to cope. They can't accept that the ritual is wrong, so they can't let it go. Sixes struggle with high levels of anxiety and fears of instability, and alcohol does dull these. Because eights reject their own vulnerability and repress any emotions that show they are vulnerable, that stress leaks into the body and can cause physical illnesses. Nines repress and deny negative events and emotions, and in periods of stress or when confronted with negative emotions, nines tend to detach from their own psyches. The Enneagram is a useful tool for understanding yourself and your interactions with the world around you. You can see a lot of examples of the types in the media you watch and read, as many writers develop characters that fall into these categories. If you're interested in seeing what type you fall under, go to 9types.com and take the assessment there.